as we do our daily previews here on an NFL team, today it is the Colts. We were going to do a team out of this division was up next here in the AFC. So the timing with the Colts is either perfect or horrendous. I think I'll go with perfect because going over the numbers yesterday on this team, I kind of scratched my head as to where they're currently at. I wouldn't touch 100-1 to win the Super Bowl with your money. I wouldn't take double that, I don't think.
You made a great point during the break about how about under 7.5 minus 190.
Well,
how the hell is this team going to win 8 games? So we just talked about the dysfunction here and the disconnect with Irsay and Taylor and Irsay, period. 1 playoff win in the last 8 years. This should have been, you were set up beautifully. You were like the Packers, Favre, Rodgers. You had Manning and the luck. I mean, you should have had this train rolling for a long, long time. As I mentioned earlier, 8-8, 4-12, 10-6 with luck. They lost to the Chiefs. That's the year they won a playoff game. 7-9, 11-5 with Rivers. Got beat by the Bills in the first round. 9-8 with Wentz. That disaster. And then 4-12-1. You also had the Saturday debacle. They went 1-7. Reich and Ryan didn't work out. I was dead wrong about that. Ryan had nothing left. The offensive line, what happened? Second most sacks allowed. Went 3-5-1 with Reich and Ryan. Imploded then when they went with Saturday. And it's just where this organization has been headed here. Did they find the quarterback, though? That's the big question. Now, who starts week 1? I don't know. Minshew Mania, he is 8-16 career in this league. He was in a bad situation that year in Jacksonville when they were so bad. And I think he only won 1 game, but the kid can sling it. But what do they do with Richardson, who's a project? And it's going to take some time, and then you have the new coach with Steichen as well. But what you said earlier, absolutely. I just can't see this team doing much of anything, and much like Houston in the bottom of that division.
I mean, this is the beauty of the alternate win totals market, right? Is that you can pick your poison here. You can go to war with whatever number that you want, and the 3 that are on the board at Circa, the regular win total for Indy is 6.5. The under is even money this morning. The alternate high number is 7.5. So if you want to be contrarian and think they're going to be good, and never mind any of this Irsay Taylor nonsense going on. Over 7.5 plays plus 165, but the under, Pauly, as you said, is minus 190. I'm willing to bet that those numbers are going to change by the end of the week, meaning that they'll go lower, right? So if you want, like 190 could turn into minus 240 at some point. The 5.5 over is minus 240. If you think they're going to be just one gigantic stink bomb this year, the under 5.5 is plus 205. Plenty of questions about this team. One, if you go back a year ago, you were not the only person, Paul, wrong on this team. Plenty of people were picking the Colts to actually come out of the AFC and make it to the Super Bowl. That was the hype a year ago. I know we have short-term memory problems in this country, but that's exactly where they were by bringing in Matt Ryan. And the thought was, well, Jonathan Taylor was in the MVP mix the year before. The offensive line is absolutely elite. And as long as Shaq Leonard stays healthy, the defense, they have playmakers. Gilmore was on the team. None of that happened. It was a total mess. And the biggest question mark that I have, forget about Jonathan Taylor, would be the offensive line again. If you go back and look, Pro Football Focus ranks them coming into the year 10th, which based on last year, they were closer to bottom 5 than top 5, in my opinion, and based on numbers. But they actually admitted that they're expecting a correction this year in the offensive line. That's why they have him 10th. Quentin Nelson allowed 4 sacks in his first 4 years. He allowed 5 alone last year. They were 22nd in adjusted line yards last year, 7th in 2021, 12th in 2019. Think about this for a second. Running the football in 2021, they were 12th in power success rate. They were 7th in 2019. Last year, they were 29th in power success rate running the football. And as you said, they allowed the 2nd most sacks and had the 5th worst adjusted sack rate. They allowed 32 sacks in 2021. They allowed 21 in 2020. That was tied for the 2nd fewest, and they allowed 32 in 2019. How did those numbers double last year?
Don't know.
Is it because of Matt Ryan was a statue?
Yep.
Or because the offensive line completely fell on their faces? A combination of both, yep. But the offensive line was horrible a year ago.
Defense was bad too, 28th in points allowed. And then Taylor's bad year with only 800 yards and 4 touchdowns with the ankle problem as well, after he was so good in 2021 also. Steve Mackinnon, who did an excellent job in our betting guide, breaking down this division. He has Jacksonville, the 7th best team in the league. He has Tennessee, 27. Colts, 28, and Houston, the 2nd worst team in the league.
Oh, my
with his
goodness.
power ratings. The other thing is Jacksonville is laying 3.5 week 1 against the Colts. Jacksonville has owned the Colts. Owned them. And this, you mentioned how bad it was last year, and I had the win total over and to win the division. There was something wrong from the get-go.
Oh, yes.
They were getting humiliated in the first half at Houston, and that was that funky tie. They are 1-14 ATS the last 15 season openers. Are you kidding? 1-14 ATS going back the last 15 season openers. They are catching 3.5. You really got to like Jacksonville week 1 on the road. And then the questions about the quarterback position. And I can't get past, I know because the guy played quarterback here. I can't believe Shane Steichen is a head coach in this league. And Shane Steichen is your guy now. So I will say good luck with that. I think it was more Sirianni and just more so he was the brainchild of what's gone on the last few years in Philly. But, between changing coaches and changing quarterbacks every year, and now you have a project in Richardson, I'll say good luck, and it'll be a long year.
Paul, if you want to go back in time, I just said I would not touch the Colts at 100-1 with your money to win the Super Bowl. When we were watching Shane Steichen play quarterback at UNLV, if you would have told me back then that eventually he's going to be a head coach in the NFL, I would have needed 1,000-1 on that minimum.
Yeah.
There's no way that could have happened, and it did. And if you go overall, again, just based on the unit rankings here, and who knows what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor at this point, but at PFF, the running back unit, because of him, that's the strength of the team. That overall unit, because of JT, they rank 5th overall. Defensive line. They have a couple of nice players on the line, but overall, PFF has them ranked 18th. The linebackers all comes down to Shaq Leonard, who only played 74 snaps last year. But if you go back in 2021, he graded out at 91.1 per their numbers, which is very, very good. And he had 7 forced fumbles to go along with 4 INTs. He's like an elite linebacker. He makes a difference. Who knows overall the health? But because of the turnover at secondary, they're ranked 31st, only ahead of the Rams in the NFL. So they have a chance to be just god-awful this year. Mm-hmm. The wide receivers grade out at 26th overall. And the special teams a year ago, they were 26th in DVOA at Football Outsiders. The schedule, it is the 3rd easiest in the entire league, partially because they get the Titans based on those numbers, and the Texans 4 times. And again, this will tell you the turnaround from last year, Paul. They have 0 primetime games, not 1, on the schedule this year. I don't look. I generally look at the plus money on these alternate win totals, but I'm telling you, 7.5 minus 190 looks kind of attractive to me overall. And this is not the timing here with the Taylor news. Could it play into that? Well, you're taking their best player off the team potentially, but more than that, if they go with Anthony Richardson, and I'd say this about Gardner Minshew as well. Minshew can be really good in spurts, and remember what happened last year? Came in with no hurts and was awesome in game 1. What happened after that? Teams adjusted, they got more film on him, and they realized that he's not that great of a quarterback when he needs to start every single week. As a fill-in, as a backup, he's just fine. He's really, really good. But
he was great against Dallas. Didn't go well against the Saints, but that's, he's a mixed bag.
Yeah, he is. He is. And I think that's exactly what I think Richardson will have some ridiculous highlight plays, but that's going to come with plenty of mistakes on top of it. So who knows about the playing time overall? We'll find out more as training camp and the preseason games go on.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.